What's up, bro?
Good to see you here in the studio.
Yeah. Good to be here.
It's good to be here in the radio studio.
Not the TV studio.
Not the TV studio, but the radio studio. It's good to have you in front of me. You're smiling.
Aren't I always smiling?
Well, you're always smiling, but it looks like the smile today is different.
It's a tired smile.
Well, so, I mean, what has been happening, with you? We're getting information. Yesterday, we heard the news. We heard the news that after over 5 years of what seemed like a never-ending legal tussle, the Commercial Court 7 in Accra found the Confederation of African Football guilty of infringing on the intellectual property rights of something that you put together, something that you made.
Yeah.
How are you feeling right now about all of that?
Well, it's hard to explain, but yeah, I feel good about the fact that the law took its course in my favor, and the fact that, something that a lot of people told me was not going to happen, happened. And so I feel exonerated. Yeah, I guess that's the word.
Exonerated?
Yeah.
How did all of this happen? Take us through it. What's the genesis of this?
So, okay, so I make beats, as obviously.
Yes, you were a beat maker, you were a producer.
Yes.
Yes.
It's my passion. I don't play any instruments, but I enjoy creating music. And so I got a software that helps me do this without having to know how to play any instrument. And through that, I decided to carve a niche for myself, essentially make African-themed film scores and soundtracks. And when I do these things, I post them on my YouTube or my SoundCloud, that hopefully someday somebody would need it and I'd license it to them and I'd make some money, but yeah, it takes a lot of effort to get that kind of recognition. So, but I still kept on, and I've been doing this for over a decade.
Yeah,
so I've
you've
got
been making beats for over a decade.
Got about 2,000 beats, like just there.
Wow.
So I uploaded my.
I think yesterday I saw on your Twitter that you'd released a new collection of beats.
Yeah, that's even in 2022. I had I did a whole 30 beats album, scores, different types of genres, and I put them out there. So one December morning, I had a call from a friend who said, "Hey, I've been listening to your beats and I just heard one on Twitter," because I don't follow sports, so I would never have seen this. I saw a tweet from CAF and I think they may have used your beats for one of their promotional videos for the CAF Awards. So he sent me the link and I checked it out and it was indeed my beats. And so I reached out to them. I quoted them in a tweet and told them, "Hey, this is my beats, and so if we should get talking."
Yeah.
And
do the needful.
Absolutely, those were the words.
Yeah, do the needful.
So they didn't get in touch through Twitter, so I went to their website, sent a message on there, hoping that somebody would reach out to me. Then eventually, somebody actually did. I think someone got my number, gave my number. No. Someone reached one way or the other, but
they reached out to you.
Finally.
That's the bottom line.
Yes.
They got your number somehow, and they were able to get through to you.
Yes. So they sent me an email, and I sent them my email, and I forwarded them the message that I sent to them via email, and they asked me, "So what's the way forward?" And I'm like, remuneration, exactly. You have to pay for it because you didn't
used
credit
my intellectual
me.
property. You didn't credit me. You're supposed to pay me for it.
That was it. Didn't hear from them again. And so I thought, okay, maybe they're going to think about it and come. But they didn't come back. So I had my lawyers send them a letter, cease and desist from using it. And you see, the way this thing works on social media, I just went, other people took the video, reposted it.
And kept on reposting.
So eventually they took it down at a point, which was way too late for...
they had already spread. They've already used it
Even
for the promotion.
today, it's online.
It's still online?
Yes.
That promotion is still online.
Other people posted it, so it's still online. So my rights are still being infringed as we speak. So when that happened, the lawyer sent them a letter, and we were expecting to hear from them, making an offer. Nothing. We had to even DHL them a letter and all those things. Nothing. Then I spoke to lawyers. Like I kept speaking to lawyers, and the amount of money I was told I'd have to pay scared me at the time because I didn't have that kind of money.
The amount of money you'd have to pay the lawyers to actually do this case for you, to pursue this case.
Yes. It was a lot, and it was like
the legal fees alone.
Legal fees and everything.
So you just wanted to let it go.
So yeah, I got to a point I degassed. I lost
you degassed.
I lost interest. Like, you know what? I'd go and invest all this money and I might not even make anything worth appreciating. So let me just let it go. Then a year or two afterwards, I bumped into I saw so there was this lawyer who had written a book about intellectual property, and someone asked me to speak to her, not about my case actually, but about intellectual property. And I had a tech show at the time, so I invited her onto my show. And then during the conversation, I brought up the fact that, hey, but somebody actually infringed on my intellectual property. And she was shocked. She's like, so what have you done about it? I'm like, nothing. She's like, no, we have to talk about this. So that lawyer, Sarah Noko Anku of Anku at Law, sat me down, talked me through all the things that I could do, educated me on intellectual property, basically, and copyrights, and how much I could earn from this. And I'm like, wow, like nobody made me feel like it was worth anything. So after all that education and assurance, because even then still there was a lot of noise surrounding this issue from my friends and other people I've spoken to that, let it go, you'd finish, you'd win, execution would be an issue, enforcement, they don't have a physical body here, they are in Egypt. But she assured me, she's like, listen, let's do this. I'm not going to take, I'm not going to bother you with any plenty money. I'm just going to help you with this because I think that it's your rights and I respect that. And I think people need to respect your rights. So she was very big on the fact that it was about them respecting my rights. And it was a statement that we had to make because I also felt that way. She's like, yeah, so let's go for it. Even if you don't make like sizable amounts, you have at least made an impact in the industry and people would feel like, yeah, I want that. So then we decided to pursue it. And yes, it still did come with some legal cost.
Yeah.
But, the fact that I knew this was for a purpose, I knew that, we were setting the tone for a conversation that needed to be had. I was glad about, doing it. So even if I don't win anything in my mind, the creative industry needed to know how very important copyright and intellectual property is.
Let's listen to the beat that was stolen. The intellectual property of Kobby, Spiky, and Nkrumah that was stolen by CAF. Listen to it. So this is the beat. This is
Confanoche.
Confanoche.
Yeah.
This is a brilliant beat.
Thank you.
What was the inspiration for this?
So
Because this is like I can just imagine a very epic Ghanaian movie depicting the conjuring of the golden stool and Confanoche doing all his fetish things, and I can almost picture the beats in the background, right?
See, that's exactly how I felt when I was making it. So it was a phase. I went through and I even have one for Ya Santoa. I have a Sagrenti War. I went through a phase of making soundtracks for would-be African epic movies. Specifically.
I mean, so if a movie producer thought about making a movie for Confanoche, they would come and see you, and then you give them the soundtrack. And they pay a fee. It's your intellectual property. And that's how it works, right? That's how the creative industry should work.
That's how exactly it should work.
And CAF should have known better.
Indeed, they should have done their due diligence. And I mean, when it happened initially, I was even excited, and I said, hey, if they would, settle and they would sign a deal with me to be their official beat maker for anything that they needed, I was totally with it. But they never even had conversations.
That would have been a great opportunity for collaboration, with someone indigenous, right?
Me, that's
promoting
really
the industry.
What I wanted, I was really big on that collaboration. So I had a conversation with my friend Seven, and we were talking about how, this is the best way to go, and we would put we'll put our foot forward as offering to compose stuff for them, and whenever they needed soundtracks, I would have them available for them. But we never had those conversations, and as such,
is it that they weren't interested?
I don't know. Honestly, they never really had enough conversations with me. It was very, short.
So even after you sued, did they,
That's
try?
when we had our first conversation. That time, I remember telling them that, because I felt disrespected over the years. Because imagine this: if it had been an international artist, do you think they would have ended up in court? Because it would have been counting 6 figures by now. I mean, we've seen copyright cases internationally that have amounted to excess of, $30 million and the such. You've heard a case of Robin Thicke and Marvin Gaye's estate, Bloodlines, where they sued Robin Thicke for mimicking Marvin Gaye's sound. He didn't even make the sound. He didn't copy it. He mimicked it. Yeah. And they won millions of dollars. You've heard cases like Sting and what's his name, Juice WRLD, where Juice WRLD interpolated Sting's guitar in his song. And as a result, Sting owns 85% of the royalties for that song. So any millions that song makes, 85% goes to Sting. I'll Be Missing You, once again, Sting again.
Yeah.
Puff Daddy used it during to celebrate Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
There's rumors that he's paying $2,000 daily to Sting. I mean, he is paying Thong Song, Living La Vida Loca, that line alone. Cisco is paying money to the originator of that line.
So, I mean, elsewhere, they take these issues of copyright and intellectual property seriously, but in our part of the world, we don't. It looks like anybody can just get up and just do anything.
Just borrow.
It. And because we allow it, and it looks like a lot of people in the creative arts space do not necessarily understand their rights as regards intellectual property. Because if you have created something which is unique to you, I mean, your thought process, the time that you spend creating it and all of that, I mean, that is work that you have put in.
Indeed.
And you've put out there. So if someone is going to benefit or profit off of it, it shouldn't be at your expense. They need to pay you for the work that you've done. And a lot of people do not really understand that.
Yeah.
So from your experience, how bad will you say this issue of intellectual property theft or appropriation is in this part of the world, this part of the country?
It is very bad, because the times when you'd hear an advert and then someone's song was used for the advert and you're wondering, did they pay him? And there are times when artists have their styles or their creative process disrespected because somebody just felt like, oh, I just used it. I'm even giving you hype.
I'm even giving you mileage.
And it's offensive, I think, to think that just by using it, you are celebrating the person. You should ideally give the person something, because when you look at in the international markets, people actually license these beats. You're either paying for exclusive rights or you're paying for a license to use it. If you pay for a license to use it, that means other people can license it. If you're paying for exclusive rights, that means that it belongs to you. And I remember one time when Timbaland and Scott Storch had an argument. Timbaland actually took a shot at Scott Storch saying that he makes $500,000 for his beats. And it's right. If somebody's paying for exclusive rights, which is not even in perpetuity, they're probably going to own those rights. Yeah, they're going to pay you a lot of money because for that period, you're not going to be earning, from that. And it happens that you would see that people would even in the creative space, people would sample someone's song and not even credit
them at all.
Somebody would use a line from someone's song and not even put them in a credit.
I mean, we saw one recently with Team Eternity and Diffie, but it looks like they've been able to settle that.
Yeah. But I've been a huge supporter of the creative arts industry, and so I've been even going around. Musica has had me do some trainings for their members on the digital space, and any opportunity I get, I throw in some of these copyright stuff because my case made me really delve deep into it to try to understand it more. And I realized that there's a lot that we're not doing here. When we even record music in the studio, artists need to credit everybody who contributed to the writing of the song,
every single
to the production, to the instrumentalist, and you have artists who've written songs for people and they're not credited.
Nobody
you have
knows.
Producers who've produced music for people and they're not credited. They're not in the credits. And so all these things affect the creative industry. And I think that right now it's going to open the eyes of creatives. It's going to open the eyes of people who want to borrow or use these creatives' intellectual property, so that they settle them.
I mean, so a last one before you go. What do you think is the biggest reason why a lot of people whose intellectual property is stolen or used do not want to pursue it in this part? In your experience, they just want to they don't want to pursue it
because of the stress of the legal process. I'm glad this happened because not a lot of people had faith in the legal system in Ghana, but this has at least opened the floodgates for a lot of legal things. I think
you've showed the way.
Yeah, people need to sue. Forget about you go somewhere, something isn't done to your taste, and you think you can sue. The system works. I mean, the famous quote that says that the gears of law grind slowly, right? Yes, indeed, they do.
The wheels of justice.
Grind slowly. So we need to take that into consideration.
It took you 5 years to get here.
It took,
but you're here.
The legal was 3, but the whole case was 5.
Was 5, right. Yeah. All right, Spiky, thank you very much.
Thank
you.
What
will you do with the 250K?
What I do?
Yes.
Well, I'm a Rotarian, so there's a high possibility I'll do
a lot of philanthropy, right?
Stuff,
okay, well, but your friends are going to exponentially increase, right? The number of friends you have are going to exponentially increase.
I didn't hear that.
Spiky, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.